Hi, it's Andy, and today I'm filming a what is on my TBR cart, which is pretty much my entire TBR. So all of my TBR currently fits on this TBR cart, and I try and make it a rule to make sure this doesn't overflow. I've pulled everything off that I'm going to be reading this month. Hopefully I'll manage to get everything read. I've already managed 3 books so far, and I've got another 13 to go this month. So hopefully I'll manage that. But yeah, so today is going to be a what's on my TBR cart. My TBR cart is here, and like I said, this is my entire TBR. Every single one of these books is unread. Every single book that is on the shelf has been read, which I'm amazed at, because I used to be really bad for rereading and never reading new books, whereas this year, the last couple of years, I've kind of put my foot down and been like, no, you will read from your TBR cart, and that is that. But if I wanted to reread something, I won't stop myself, because that is a great way to get into a slump. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start and just talk you through my TBR cart. First book on my TBR cart, I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. I currently have one full level filled, one full level half filled in a bit. So yeah, my first book on my TBR is The Dead Fathers Club by Matt Haig. I don't actually know what this is about. I just really like Matt Haig, and have decided I'm going to read all these books, except the one about dogs, because someone said to me, don't read that if you don't like animal violence and cruelty. So yeah, so I'm hoping to get to this soon, because it is a really short book and I really fly through Matt Haig. So yeah, here's hoping I get to this one soon, which is probably what I'm going to say about all of them, but you know how it is. Next is Out of the Easy by Ruta Sepetys. I love Ruta Sepetys. I can't say her name for the life of me. She writes books that are historical fictions, but generally histories that you don't get to see. So I've got some behind me, Salt of the Sea, Between Shades of Grey, The Fountain of Silence. I love her books. This one is based in New Orleans, hence Out of the Easy, and it is, I don't even know when it's based, but I just know that I'm going to love it because she's an autobiography for me now, and I'm really excited to read it. I am totally going to keep saying, I'm excited to read this, I'm excited to read this, I'm excited to read this. I've just done a massive unhaul, so of course I'm excited to read everything on this cart because it's stayed on the cart. Next one is The Book of Lost Names by Kristen Harmel. This was on my Amazon wish list, and it was sent to me by Liam, I believe, for one of Spoopy Hall's Secret Santas. So thank you so much for this, Liam. I am so looking forward to this. It's a World War II historical fiction. I love World War II historical fiction, as you can probably see behind me. So this one is a chunker though. I didn't realise just how big it was going to be. It is over 500 pages, so I'll have to see when I'm going to get to this. Definitely not during review fun. Next up is something I am going to blame Tori for. Yes, I'm calling out in this video again, Tori. I went to visit Tori up in Aberdeen a few weeks ago, and we went out book shopping, and it went well or not so well, depending on if you're coming from the perspective of it's great to have more books or how much it actually cost. So there's a slight difference there. So these have all come recently, and I've not read any of them. I did buy some more books that I have read, but obviously not on my TBR cart, so they're not getting put on this video. All of these are Alice Oseman books. So we have Solitaire, Radio Silence, Loveless, This Winter, and Nick and Charlie. I will be reading all of these books at some point. I think we're planning some sort of Oseman along with Bobby and Pia as well, and I do plan to read all of these at some point because I absolutely loved Heartstopper, and I'm obsessed with Alice Oseman now. I am so late to the game, and I should have listened when Hayley in Bookland was saying that Radio Silence was one of the best books she's ever read. She was saying that years ago, and I was like, nah, doesn't sound like something for me. I love Alice Oseman now, so yeah, I'm happily going to say I'm wrong. Next up are the Philippa Gregory books that, if you've seen my previous one of these, I've still not read from that, and that is The White Princess, The Kingmaker's Daughter, and Three Sisters, Three Queens. All by Philippa Gregory. All of them I've still not read yet. I am slowly making my way through The Cousins' War, and then I will be reading this. Her writing is so slow, but I really enjoy it. It just takes me about a month to read each of her books, so I've been doing it, you know, every other month or so I've been reading a book, and I'm getting my way through these, I promise. Next up is If Only by Melanie Murphy. I follow Melanie on YouTube and I have been meaning to read this book, but I am so scared because I've hyped it up so much in my head. I don't want it to then let me down because I've hyped it up so much. So I've taken a step back and I will be reading this at some point, but I just need to wait for myself to calm down. Next up also has been on my TBR for ages, and that is The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. I really should have read this ages and ages ago when I first got it, but again I've hyped it up quite a lot and I've just kind of not been ready to read it because of that. This is set in America during times when things were still segregated, and I've seen the movie and I really enjoyed the movie, so I went to read the book, but I can't quite remember what it's about. I do know there are sisters who own this home, a trio of black sisters who own this home, and they keep bees. And there's the little girl Lily who believes that she killed, I think it was her mother, and she ends up meeting these women and it changes her life. Next is The Library of the Dead by T.L. Hishu. I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of a cover by. Look at it, it's so beautiful, it's teal, it's my aesthetic, and it's based in Scotland, and it is someone who is mixed race or mixed nationality. She is from Zimbabwe and Scotland, so I love the mixing of traditions that should be in this book and I'm really excited, but it's, I think, supposed to be more of a horror and I am a wisp. Next up is People of Abandoned Character by Claire Whitfield. This, I don't even know what it's about. I just saw London 1888 and Jack the Ripper, which is in the foiling on the back, and I was like, hell yeah. Historical fiction, I love it. This looks like a really interesting cover, which is a terrible reason to buy a book, but you know, looks like something I'm interested to read. Next is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. This book I picked up a while ago. I was in a Waterstones and a lady came in and was like, this is the best book I've ever read, I want you to find me a book that's as good as this book, to the bookseller, and I was like, well, if that's her reaction to that book, I'll give it a go. I'd been passing it and not really bothered about it, but I thought, stuff it, I'll try and read it. I'm still not sure what it's about, and I understand there's been some controversy with, I believe, the author, which I'm not aware of what's actually happened, but yeah, I mean, I've got it, I'll still read it, I've already spent the money on it. Next up is The Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth, with these lovely square edges. This again has been on my TBR for a while. I really enjoyed Veronica Roth's other stories, so I wanted to read this. This is about Chosen Ones, basically like what happens after they've finished being the Chosen One, and it gives some rep with some mental illness, because obviously they've gone through a lot. You don't just fight an evil battle, see people die, you know, things like that, and come out of it okay, and that's what this is about. It sounds really interesting, and I've just not got around to it. Next up is The Girl Behind the Wall by Mandy Robotham. Again, this is World War II historical fiction. I pretty much don't need to know more than that and I'll pick these books up, so pretty much that's all I know. You see from the back that it says two sisters torn apart. They've been cut off by, I believe, the Berlin Wall, is that right? Yeah. And so twins split up by the Berlin Wall, physically split up by the Berlin Wall. Sounds really interesting, not something I've read before. Next book is The Boy in Striped Pyjamas by John Boyne. I've not read this, I've seen the movie, and again it was one of those ones where I was like, I've seen the movie first but I've not read the book, I'm going to pick up the book. And it is basically about this little boy, his family moved to this new house next to a prison camp, next to a concentration camp, and he befriends a boy at the fence, a boy who wears striped pyjamas, and it's, as far as I can understand, basically looks at it from a child's perspective. He doesn't understand why people are bad or in this prison, and the way they treat him is very kind, as far as I can tell, and yeah, if you know, you know when it comes to the end of this book. Next up is one, again, I bought on not quite a whim, but I was going through a phase, but that gave me a fright, and that's Fife Folk Tales by Sheila Kinmont. And because I'm from Fife, I wanted to pick this up because I want to learn more about the folk tales in my area. Oh, you can see them in the reflection. They is shiny. Very short books, it's got loads of interesting stories, I'm sure, and some illustrations, so I'm excited to read it. Next up is Those Who Are Loved by Victoria Hislop. This just seemed like, again, another really interesting World War II historical fiction based in Greece. I've not read one based in Greece yet, so that's why I picked it up. I love seeing the effect of the war from different places, because I normally only see sort of European, British sides of things when it comes to what we're taught in school and what we read, so I love seeing it from different perspectives. Next up is Last Night by Barry McFarlane. This is a rom-com, two best friends, one mischance, and a night that changes everything. This is something I picked up when I was getting really into the romance genre, and I'm excited to read it. I've just not gotten to it yet, unfortunately. So basically, something obviously happens between two friends and it moves them into a situation where they're slightly more than friends. Next is The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. I have, like I say, been getting into romance, so you'll see a lot more romance coming into this right now. This is a romance about a woman who, I believe it's a DNA sequencing company, and she's matched with the owner, but they hate each other, so it's like a hate to love, I'm assuming. Excited to read it. I really liked the last Christina Lauren I read, so I thought I'd give it a try. Next is The Lie Tree by Frances Hardinge. That's terrible. So yeah, a lot of this again was a cover by, I think I needed it for like a deal or something, so I picked this up on a whim. It looks like a historical fiction, if I'm not wrong. Witchy, dark. Next is Recipe for Mr. Right by Annie Rose. Again, this is a romance based at, I believe, a baking competition? I'm not sure, but again, I needed it for a deal and it seemed interesting. Next up is The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. I've seen mixed reviews about this, but I decided to give it a try. It seems like almost like Bewitched, but not. I don't know, I'm not sure. Basically, this girl curses her ex using a Bath and Body Works candle, and years in the future they discover that actually she has hexed him, and it's now causing problems for everybody's witchcraft. Next is One Night on the Island by Josie Silver. This is the author of One Day in December, and that book was really liked. I've not read that yet, but I'll give this one a chance first. This is a one night forced proximity romance type thing, which I find really interesting, so I picked it up. Sometimes I read the synopses of these in the shop, pick them up, and then I'm like, why did I buy this? But I guarantee I'm probably gonna like it. Next up, just for a change, is Neanderthal Rediscovered: How a Scientific Revolution is Rewriting Your Story by Dimitria Papagianni and Michael A. Morse. And this is basically about the newest updates and science for the Neanderthals, which I find really interesting because I am a nerd at heart, and I just thought it was really interesting, and it was cheap at Waterstones, so I bought it. Next up is The Dating Game by Sandy Barker. Again, this seems to be at a dating show, and it's a rom-com. I just really wanted some rom-coms to pick up because they're fast reads and I'm really enjoying them so far. Next up is another Christina Lauren. It's Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating, and Hayley from Hayley and Bookland again has been going on about this for ages, and I've been enjoying Christina Lauren, so I picked up another one of his books. This is about Hazel and Josh, who are friends, and I believe they set each other up on really bad dates all the time, and I'm assuming they end up getting together. Next up is Island at War by Deborah Carr. This is about Jersey, which is an island off the coast of England. It's closer to France actually, but it's kind of in the same region as Guernsey, and I really enjoyed the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, so I thought I'd pick this up because it seems really interesting. Again, a point of view that we never get to see in the war, because Jersey and Guernsey, I believe, were actually inhabited by the Nazis during the Second World War, and the people there suffered because of it, so I'm interested to learn more. Next is Not Here to Be Like by Michelle Coyer. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that. Mainly I got it for the yellow sprayed edges because I don't have a yellow sprayed edge book, which is a terrible reason to buy something, but this is a YA, I hate to love, two students go up for the same presidents of some kind of club, and yeah, they are against each other. She hates him, but she's a shoo-in for it, and then I think maybe he wins, or they, I don't know, they have to co-captain, I suppose, or I'm not sure, but I thought I'd give it a try. Next up is Daughters of War by Dina Jeffries. Again, World War II historical fiction with a twist. Three sisters who are all different and how they go through the war in different ways. Next up is Still Life by Sarah Winman. This again I think is a World War II historical fiction based in Italy, and yeah, that's all I needed to know, and I'll read it basically. I'm trying to go a bit faster through these because I don't want this video to be really long. Next up is The Roommate by Rosie Dannon. This was £2 on Amazon, so when I saw it again, it was a forced proximity, kind of like Beth Ladies the Flat Share. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll have it, and I bought it. So I didn't want to read it straight away, but I had too much to read in my TBR, so maybe next one. Next up is The Chemist by Stephanie Meyer. I wanted to read more Stephanie Meyer because of the fact that I really enjoyed Twilight, and I ended up really enjoying The Host. This is more of a murder mystery, I suppose, which made me soft DNF it before, but since I really enjoyed The Host and I wasn't sure if I was gonna, I'm more likely to give this a chance. So this is on its last legs. This is one of these, I suppose, self-destruct books. If I don't like it, it's going. So yeah. As far as I understand it, it's about a chemist who is framed for murder and she has to work with the police to clear her name while she's on the run. Something like that. Next up is The Giver of Stars by Jojo Moyes. This one was another soft DNF. I just wasn't feeling it at the time, but it is historical fiction by Jojo Moyes. I've loved pretty much everything I've read from Jojo Moyes as well, especially historical stuff, so I'm excited. This is like America, but like back when they were still discovering America and people still rode on horses and things like that, so I'm excited to get to it eventually, but I wasn't feeling it at the time. Next up is Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. I again enjoyed Veronica Roth's other books, which I believe is the Divergent trilogy. So I picked this up. It's a sci-fi, which I'm not entirely sure how sci-fi it is, if I'll enjoy it because I'm not really a sci-fi reader, but it's Veronica Roth, so I'm willing to give it a chance. Next is The Help by Catherine Stockett. Again, I've seen this movie and I wanted to pick up and read the book and see how it compares. This is about black maids in segregated America. Again, the maids are the ones that raise the children, do all the cooking, cleaning, and it's not often we get to see what they went through, but I believe this is a white author, so it's not, yeah, it's a white author, so it's obviously not an Own Voices. I'm still interested to read it and have a look at Own Voices reviews, so that'll be interesting once I get around to it. Next up, another non-fiction, and that is Entangled Life, How Fungi Make Our Worlds, Change Our Minds and Shape Our Futures by Melanie Sheldrake. This is basically just a non-fiction about the different things about fungi, how we use them in medicine, and they change the environment. Just basically a giant nerd out about fungi. Next up is The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker. I believe this is based on the Trojan War, yeah, and it again shows the perspective of the women that were affected by the Trojan War. That's why I picked it up. It was in the Women's Prize for Fiction, so I'm excited to pick it up and read it. I do have another one of Pat's books on my TBR for this month, so hopefully I like that and that'll show me that I like this. But yeah, excited, and it's got French. Almost got myself in the face with that one. Next up is one I'm embarrassed I haven't got to yet, and that is The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I have two copies of this book, one with sprayed edges and a different coloured cover, and this one, which is going to be my reading copy. This is about twin sisters who are light-skinned black women, and one decides she's going to pass as white and lives in a white neighbourhood with a white husband, white kids, yada yada, and the other one decides she wants to stay as a black woman, black husband, black kids, black neighbourhood, and how that affects the sisters, basically. I'm sure there's a lot more to it than that, but that's the sort of basic gist. Next up is Trick of the Dark by Val McDermott. again, embarrassed I've not read this. Val McDermott lives or is from somewhere very, very close to me, and really I should be reading local authors because I should be supporting them, although Val McDermott is a big name, so I don't think she needs, you know, my support, but I still like to give it to her. This again is a detective mystery. I don't know much more about it than that. I just picked it up in, I think, Asda or something when it was on the cheap books that Asda do. Next one is another nerdy one, and that is The Picts, a History by Tim Clarkson. This is basically just non-fiction history of what we know about the Picts, who are the people that lived in Scotland way back when. And that is because one of the books I was reading, one of the characters was a Pict and he was immortal, and I loved him, so I wanted to learn more about the Picts because that's how my brain works. Again, a really nerdy one, and that's Ancestors by Professor Alice Roberts. This is basically, again, about people who lived in Britain and what we've learned about them, what we're still learning about them, how they, you know, we got from there to now, things like that, and the things we're discovering about them through archaeological digs. And it's so shiny. But yeah, I just think it'd be really interesting. Can you tell I was that kid that watched Time Team instead of cartoons? Next up is Gilded by Marissa Mayer. Again, I love Marissa Mayer. I've got her Lunar Chronicles up there, you can't see them. So when this came out, I thought, I'll maybe give it a try, and then I saw it in Waterstones and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pick it up. Again, I needed it for a deal, so we'll see. It is a chunker. She likes to write chunkers, Marissa Mayer does. But yeah, I'm excited to read it. I'm not 100% sure what this is about, but I trust Marissa Mayer. Two more. We've got 2 more to go. We're almost there. Next up is The Librarian of Auschwitz, based on the true story of Data Kraus by Antonia Iturbe, translated by Lilith Thwaites. This, I don't think I need to explain this one. World War II, historical fiction, but based on true life events. That is right up my street. I want to know what happened to people. I want to hear their stories. I want to support in any way I can, and by learning we can support a lot better. So I'm so excited to read this. And last but not least is The Keening by Margaret Pinard. I was on a live sorry if the angles just changed. Hamish decided he needed to come underneath my tripod instead of walking around it. Thanks for that, Hamish. So the next is The Keening by Margaret Pinard. This is, again, something that is historical fiction based in Scotland. I really like The Visitor, and this is pretty much right up that alley. I was actually on a live with Margaret Pinard and I said about how much I liked The Visitors and why I liked it, and she said, oh, you probably like my book then, and I read up on it, and yeah, sounds like something I really like. So it's historical fiction based in the islands in Scotland. I'm there, and she is an independent author. This is self-published, so I would recommend to everybody to support her. She also, I think, has a YouTube channel because, like I say, I was on a live with her. So yeah. So that's it. That's all of the books on my TBR cart. That is 48 books. I'm actually really pleased with that. I thought I had much more than that. 48 books on my TBR cart. I could probably get through all this in the next year or so. There are some that are tentatively possibly going to be ones that I unhaul, but I'm not sure. I'll give them a chance and see how I go. But yeah, thanks for watching. If there's any of these books that you think I should try and get to next after this month, because my TBR this month is 16 books, so yeah, after this month, any that you've seen here that you think I should try and get to first, please let me know. Any that you think are not worth my time, please let me know, because I don't want to waste my time reading something that is going to be garbage. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Bye!